Welcome to Four Seasons. I'm your host, Ken Johnson, and I hope you enjoy part 2 of this series. I'm going to go ahead and apologize right now. This is the third take I've tried to do around my dogs, and they are going nuts, messing up my video. But what I wanted to show, we're not even into day 8 of this fermentation process. And you can look at the balloon and see that the fermentation has pretty much stopped. There's still a few bubbles that you can see right there. It is still fermenting some, but it's pretty much dead. And the problem was, and I knew it when I was buying it, I didn't trust the person. They claimed that it was an ale yeast. I didn't believe them. I should have just bought from somebody else, but I trusted them. They said it was ale yeast, but really it's a Pilsner. And the reason why I say that, ale yeast, or true ale yeast, ferments from the top, up here where you see them bubbles. You see all the yeast down at the bottom? That's a Pilsner. So why is this important? An ale yeast, it ferments from the top and is able to withstand higher heats. And it gives a different flavor profile. It gives these dark, rich, sassy notes that really I wanted to add to the beer. A Pilsner, which is what we got here on the bottom, it is a German strain. And so therefore it requires colder temperatures, and it gives really little flavor. It gives almost a crisp citrus note to beers. So when you drink a Pilsner, you want something that's real crisp and refreshing. That's because of the yeast fermenting from the bottom. That strain, it actually is like a seasoning. And I wanted some dark, rich notes, which I didn't get. And so I'm still going to get a beer, but nothing what I was going to want. I could have just easily done bread yeast and done better. But now I've got to go ahead and bottle this off. And so I'm going to show you this process. And because it was a Pilsner, that meant that my fermentation stopped. So whatever flavors I was going to get, I didn't get. So I'm not happy, but I'm still going to show you the process. But next time if I do it, instead of spending all the money on an ale yeast that may not be ale yeast, I'll just use bread yeast, and I'll just get a cloudy product. Just because of a space issue, I don't have much space to work with, and I wanted to show you everything that I'm doing. We're going to do this outside on a table. Ideally you want to be inside, but we'll make this work. So let's show the next step of this. As you can tell, one of the first things I've done is I've peeled the labels off these bottles. We're doing old country style beer, so that's the first thing. Now we gotta take this off right here, and so this is another knife that I just love. This isn't one that Ricky did. I actually bought this off of eBay, but it's considered to be a karambit because of this circle part, but really it's just a nice little finger knife. You don't see a lot of them being made anymore, but I'm using that instead of scissors. And so I'm going to use it to open this up with real quick and get this open. With that cut, now we'll just go ahead and pull this off. I had my wife's adjustable tripod for this stuff, and for some reason I cannot find it. So I don't know if it got moved or what happened, but I can't find it now. So what we'll do, I'm going to take a funnel here. And this is fairly clean, but I'm going to go ahead and make sure I got a piece of paper to put in here to filter out any solids. And there's a little bit of plastic at the very end of the funnel. If you're wondering what that is, that's just plastic. It'll be fine. And I'm going to pour it into this bottle and the rest of the bottles. I'm going to save a little bit of head space, and that's where I'm going to show you my inoculant. The filtration here is really nothing fancy. It's just a piece of paper that I've folded up. Folded it over, and then what I'll do is I'll open one of these folds here, and I'll use that to make a funnel. And now it looks just like that. So you got that little cone shape that we want so that we can funnel. And then we'll pour this in, and see if I can do this while doing the video. Now, I don't want to be too top heavy, so I just pour a little bit at a time until we got some at the bottom to hold it in place, which we do. And I'm being very careful. Again, I'm doing this all one-handed, but also I'm being very careful to make sure that I got plenty of head space. And you can see this fairly clear. We would not have this if this was ale yeast. It would not be this clear. That's one of the reasons why a lot of brewers like Pilsners, because all the sediment's on the bottom instead of the top. But as I said, I wanted the flavors. I wasn't worried about cleanup. And so right here, we can see we've got about a good 2 inches, 3 inches. So now I'm going to add a little extra into this. What I have here is roughly a half cup of dark, you can see it in this light here, dark brown sugar, half cup of that to 3/4 cup of water, and then I added some more of the yeast that was reserved, and so I shook it up and just did like this, put the cap on, and I'll add 1/6 of this amount, because I got 6 bottles. So 1/6 of this amount will go in there, and then I'll finish filling it up. So now I'll put this filter back on, and I'll fill it up some more. And we'll stop right about there. As you can see, another reason why I like to be outside with this, I make a mess. Trying to do the video and everything, I spilt this garbage all over me, and I overfilled it. I put way too much in. I was paying more attention to the video than what I was doing. But you want to stop and give it some breathing room, some headroom. And so that's roughly about an inch, inch and a half. So right where it starts wanting to break over and do a curve on the bottle is where I stopped. Next thing we'll do is rinse, wash, and repeat. So same thing with the next 5 bottles. So we got our bottles. I've got 4 good bottles. And then I did something that you're not supposed to do. Just for the sake of showing how country folks will do it, I didn't use my siphoning hose, and so the bottom part got mixed up, and so I've got 2 that this will actually settle, and I'll probably get about that much settlement, but it'll still be good. All of the notes of sweetness are gone. It has no brown sugar flavor whatsoever. It tastes just like a good dark beer, but it's kind of weird. It doesn't have that ale flavor. Again, it has that Pilsner, so it's real light. I wanted something dark and kind of chocolatey and sassy, but I'm kind of surprised. It really has a deep note because of the pumpkin and brown sugar and the malt and the hops, but it's really light too, surprisingly light to be this dark a beer. And it's just got a really good crisp flavor. So these 2 right here will be from me, and then I'm going to let these ferment. So these will ferment for another week or 2 in these bottles, and it'll build up gas. and then once it builds up gas, then I'll chill them, and it'll be ready to give. I'll probably give 1 or 2 of these to my friends just to let them try a pumpkin beer, and then the rest be for personal consumption. But really, you see, it's cheap. You see that I really took no extra care, no extra expense to make this beer, and that's what I was trying to get at. This is country way of living. This is not trying to do something for sale to community. This is just personal consumption, personal enjoyment. Naturally, these are not the best bottles. This is not the way that a professional brewer would do it. But at the same time, you come out with something that in a small batch, you think about it, small batch, you're getting something that you can't buy on the market. And if it's good, reproduce it, make it in a 5-gallon bucket. And if it's not good, well, you only wasted just a few dollars in a gallon water jug. So I encourage you to take the time to experiment. I mean, what's the worst can happen? You get some beer out of it. A bad day of bad beer is better than no beer at all. So give it a shot, and you can make wine out of this or whatever. Now, normally what I would do is use a siphon hose. And if you use siphon hose, you would have about that much at the bottom. Now, the old timers, I'm not saying do this, but the old timers, they would freeze this. And they collect up a bunch, like if you did a 5-gallon bucket, you probably have close to a gallon. They would freeze it, kind of bump the plastic jug, and just keep busting or bumping it until it's all nice and frozen. Leave it out for just a few minutes after it's all frozen, pour it off, and that's called jack. It is a form of cold distilling, and you can get some pretty good spirits that way without having to do a still. But I'm not doing that. I'm not, you can see all the solids in here. This is just going into a trash, and now I've got to get this beer out of the sunlight and let it start fermenting. And I hope you enjoy. So I'm not real happy right now with the beer. I put some the brewer's yeast in there for the Pilsner yeast, but Pilsner yeast has such a low alcohol content that it couldn't handle it. It died out before it created enough carbon dioxide. So the only way I could fix this would be either to dilute the mixture with water and then add more, or I'm going to go to my trusty champagne yeast that I've got mixed up with some brown sugar and water. And the champagne yeast has a way higher tolerance for alcohol, and it'll start fermenting some of those leftover sugars. It'll leave with a more drier beer. It's already pretty dry, but it'll have a drier beer, higher alcohol content, and it should give me that fizz I'm looking for. To do this is a fairly simple process. You just take and pour a little bit in each one. Don't take much. I've got way more than what I need here. You only need a few tablespoons, but you can see right there, there's an automatic reaction. So I have more carbon dioxide than what I thought. But now it would definitely have way more. This one right here, get some. Again, that's really what I want when I open up the jar. I'm just not seeing that. Now, this last one. Just get rid of some of mine. Spread it out evenly. I got roughly about a half cup. I probably shouldn't have had a half cup, but that's what I got. Get some more of that one. That's all my yeast mixture. Now we'll wait until it finishes fermenting. One thing I forgot to mention, shake it up really well. You've got to shake it up so that it'll get evenly dispersed, otherwise you can kill it off.